Hi folks, today I have for us a video from Delete Lawz where he's going over the reasons why he's suing Judge Zimmerman for depriving him of his constitutional rights and talking out of his ass about a lot of other stuff. But before we start today's video, as always, a big thank you to all of my current and new channel members and subscribers. Without all of your support, I couldn't keep the channel going, so I thank you all personally from the bottom of my heart. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the page. Leave a like and a comment because it helps with the algorithm. Don't forget to check out my second channel, NCR Movie Network, and the podcast, the Craptown Florida Man Power Rankings. Episode 35 is out right now. With all that being said, let's enjoy today's video.
What's going on out there in the land of the unfree America? There is a gigantic weight off of my foot, off of my chest. We have sued the biased and unprincipled Judge Ann Zimmerman. We have sued her ass. She has been sued. You know, unfortunately, we also had to sue Michelle Levitt, the judge who ultimately set me free from incarceration on First Amendment grounds. We sued her on a Monell claim based on my lack of due process from my 5th and my 14th Amendment.
Shenanigans.
Na 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 na.
Shenanigans.
Na 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 na.
And we're calling shenanigans, folks. Wow, this is pretty early in the video for Chille, but his 5th and 14th Amendment rights were not violated. You see, he did have due process. He had a trial. The state of Nevada didn't just say he was guilty. He actually had a lawyer representing him. He could have represented himself, but he actually had a lawyer. He could have had a jury trial, but he chose to go for a bench trial. So, where is his violation of due process? He got a fair trial. And he had the equal protections under the 14th Amendment because they did not violate any of his 14th Amendment rights due to his race or the fact that he wasn't a Nevada resident or anything like that. He was proven guilty by the evidence. But no, this is all just a simple trick of Chille's to try to get some go-away money. I mean, he's suing for almost $30 million and claiming such things as loss of intimacy. Well, did you really have any intimacy going on before you got arrested?
Double tap that screen, y'all. We have sued Ann Zimmerman. She has been sued. So Ann, I'm sure that Ann, because she must have become obsessed with me. You know, she must have watched 100 of my videos before she walked into that courtroom, right? How many hours, you know, and that's the thing. That's the thing I wonder. How many hours of my videos did she sit there and binge watch like a hater? You guys remember they did that study on Howard Stern in the late 1980s, early 1990s. They studied who watched the most Howard Stern, and it was the people that hated him the most. So how many hours, put in the comment section for me if you would, how many hours of my footage do you think the unprincipled and biased Ann Zimmerman watched? How many hours of my content do you think she watched?
Firstly, I want to apologize. The video does get a little bit choppy at times because of Chille recording in the desert while he's driving, which one is reckless and unsafe. But I don't think the judge watched as much as he's trying to presume she did. She had the real life experience in her courtroom. We all know what happened during that trial. It was covered by a lot of different channels. Firstly, you did not want to cooperate when the judge told you no audio recording inside of the courtroom. You were not going to give your phone to the bailiffs as she had ordered you to. You called them pigs. And then, when she was getting ready to sentence you, she brought up the fact that you don't like cops. You nodded your head, agreed with her, threw up the thumbs up saying, yeah, you hate cops. You think all cops are bad and scum. Those were your words, and you didn't deny it. She saw what you were. You were just trying to get a reaction so you could put this up on YouTube. You're not about the Constitution. You're not about being an advocate for people's rights. You're just a con man.
Double tap on that screen. Double tap. Hit your fingers. Bow, 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 bow. That hits the like button. Just whap that thing real quick because I will run out of service soon. And when I run out of service, I'll stay on as long as I can. But as soon as I hit the high desert, I'm gonna run out of service 100% for sure, for sure. How many hours do you think Ann Zimmerman watched my content? And listen, I'll be honest with you. It took me a really long time to get my head on straight, to get my bearing for exactly what happened and what went down, and how I ended up in a dungeon, an absolute dungeon. And then today, when I went to sue, so here's the thing, when I go to the federal building, as soon as I walk into the federal building, as soon as I walk in the front door of the federal building, they assign an escort to me.
Right.
I swear to God. Any federal building I go to in these United States of America, I guarantee you, any federal building I go into, they then send an escort to take me to do whatever business I'm going to do in the federal building. So, and by the way, most federal marshals that I've met, and I've been in, I don't know, maybe a dozen federal buildings, most federal marshals I've met were prior cops, prior police officers, right? So they assigned, when I went to go sue the corrupt, biased, and unprincipled Ann Zimmerman, when I went to go sue her, when I walked in the door, they assigned a marshal to me. So
Intimidation may not have happened.
when he escorted me to the filing to file the federal civil rights lawsuit against Ann Zimmerman, I'm going to keep saying it so that the algorithm of Google will pick it up and it'll go on the pages of Google and she will be branded as someone who violated someone's civil rights. Anyway, sorry about that. My OCD. You guys double tap the screen real quick. Double tap on your screen. We only got 37 likes and 100 and something people. But double tap on your screen. Just double tap, and put in the comment section, Team DLZ. I want to say thank you to you guys who donated. Fundraiser's still going. I've got to raise more money, but that's not what this is about right now.
You sure about that? You sure about that? You sure about that?
This is about the filing process I just went through when I sued Ann Zimmerman. So here's what happened. I went in, they assigned the marshal to me, and then we walked to the clerk's office, and I said, so how long were you a cop for? And he said, 30 years. And I said, oh, okay. I said, listen, man. I said, I'm actually a really nice guy, but when I get in front of cops and they tell me what to do, they start giving me directives, then I start to kind of be a little bit of a dick, right?
Well, it's not just cops you act like a dick to. I mean, you've threatened to sue YouTubers who've criticized you under fair use. You've threatened to sue cities and police departments for no reason. Not to mention all the people you've hurt with your claims of being an activist and fighting for them. I mean, I can bring up some people right now that would say otherwise. But I want to bring up a very important point here. You said when the cops are dicks to you and they start giving you directives, you become a dick to them. What happened to that janitor who was just trying to do his job in Ironton, who you just snapped at, yanked the plug off the vacuum when he was trying to do his job and criticized him, saying that he was violating your rights? I didn't know a janitor can do that to you, Chille.
And I'll kind of be aggressive with my voice and with my tone back to them, which is understandable. So then I said to the cop, so you were a cop for 30 years? And he said somewhere along the lines that I hate all cops, and I had never said that. And I said, why would you say that? I said,
because you did say that. You said that in Ann Zimmerman's courtroom. Would you like me to refresh your memory? Here, I'll show you.
It seems to me from observing him in the video that he wants this. He wants to get arrested. He wants to get into an altercation with the police officers. He welcomes this. This helps his YouTube channel. He called the officers here in my courtroom today pigs. He called and he's nodding his head up and down. So apparently he hates every law enforcement officer in the United States. All right, please stand.
Right there, video proof of Chille admitting that he hates all cops. He didn't deny it when Ann Zimmerman made that statement. He nodded his head, proving that she was being factual with that statement, that he hates all law enforcement officers.
I said, what makes you think I would hate all cops? I said, it's not I hate all cops. I hate the policies, procedures, and protocols. I said, let me ask you a question. When you were a cop for 30 years, did you arrest people and put them in torture cuffs? And he said, torture cuffs. They're safety restraints. That's what he called torture cuffs. Put it in the comment section. Torture cuffs are always torture. Put it in the comment section. Torture cuffs are always torture. So then he said to me, the safety restraints. I said, no, let me put them on you cop style. And he said, no. And I said, but listen, let me just ask you a question. When you arrested people over the last 30 years before you worked this cush job here as a federal marshal, I said, did anybody ever complain that it hurt? And he said, oh yeah, lots of people complained that the handcuffs hurt. I said, was it something that you heard regularly? And he said, yes. And I said, so then torture cuffs are always torture. And he said, I'm just gonna have to agree to disagree with you on that. And I said to him, well, have you ever been put in the torture cuffs? And he said, no, there's never been a reason to put me in torture cuffs and handcuffs. And I said, well, listen, I've never threatened to beat up anybody. I haven't beat up anybody after I was 25 years old. There's never been a reason to put me in torture cuffs either.
Okay, Chille, you're lying. You're a big old fat liar on that one, because there have been multiple incidents of you being arrested where you were justified in being placed in handcuffs. Like the Ironton arrest, when you were told to leave the city hall because they were closed and you were trespassing. That's a valid reason to be placed in handcuffs. Okay, you've never threatened anybody to a fight. You never threatened to beat somebody up. You made threats about other YouTubers. You made threats about attacking Team Skeptic. You made threats about Kate. And let's not forget the infamous parade incident where you were going to try to pepper spray her because she bumped into you with her boob and you were ready to attack her. You were yelling to the cops, can I pepper spray her? Can I pepper spray her? Can I defend myself? How can you say these statements knowing that there's video proof of it out there on YouTube?
But yet I've probably been in torture cuffs, 4 or 5 dozen times. And he says, well, then you got to look at yourself and decide, why are you getting put in handcuffs so often? And I said, because I don't bow down and lick their boots when they give me unlawful orders and tell me what to do. And before the camera phone, they used to just grab me and put me in torture cuffs and then say it was for officer safety, which is the whole thing that we're about. OTVO, put it in the chat. Overturn Terry versus Ohio. Put it in the chat. OTVO.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
So I said, everything now is done in the guise of officer safety. I said, so that means that if you walk up to somebody, you can just say, I'm gonna detain you. And what does detainment include? It includes what? Putting me in the handcuffs, right? And he said, yeah. And I said, so if you heard every day that the handcuffs were hurting somebody, then you're torturing people. You're hurting people who have not committed a crime. You're detaining them based on your feeling of being safe.
Chille, you are so dumb on this one, because I have seen plenty of people being detained on body cam footage where they didn't get placed in handcuffs. Usually they got told to stand by a car or sit in back of the squad car, and they were never placed in handcuffs. I have personally seen people in real life get detained, and due to a investigation where they had reasonable articulable suspicion to do so, that they weren't handcuffed. Chille, if you get Terry versus Ohio overturned, reasonable articulable suspicion goes out of the window. But then again, that doesn't fit your narrative, because you feel that all cops are just jackboot thug pigs who want to torture people. And when it comes to handcuffs hurting people, and every time we've seen people yelling that they're too tight, they're hurting, either they've been combative or they're resisting arrest. The reason why your handcuffs were hurting you, Chille, was because you were resisting arrest.
And he says, we're going to have to agree to disagree. And I'm like, what the flock are you? Agree to disagree? I said, man, you just said you detain people. You just said every day people. There we go. Are we still there? Are we still there? Do we still got it? Hopefully we still got it. Zimmerman got sued. There it is. Do we back? I'm gonna hit the high desert in a minute, so I know that. Was I cutting in and out pretty bad there? I can't see. Let me put some glasses on. There we are. Right on. Now I can see some comments. Whoa, is there really only 36 people here? There's got to be more than that. I was misreading something. What is going on out there? Team DLZ is in the house. Christopher, what's going on, Playboy? Someone, did you guys see the troll? That's so funny, isn't it? Just got it. That's funny. That's hilarious. That is funny. Cops got people pulled over as I'm driving down the road here. What's going on, everybody? So anyway, I was just kind of rambling about the fact that I went to the federal building to sue the corrupt and biased and unprincipled Judge Ann Zimmerman. And when I got into the federal building, they had assigned a marshal to follow me around through the federal building, and followed me all the way up to the clerk's office, all the way over to the clerk's office, where he sat there with me the whole time that the clerk was filling out the forms for the federal civil rights lawsuit, which I find to be just harassing, and I don't know how or why why they would feel as though they have to assign a cop.
And I would like some kind of proof that this actually happened. I mean, why would it that you're always talking about whenever you're dealing with any form of law enforcement, you already have your camera out and rolling. You're in the touchdown position in the wide angle because that's what you tell everybody to do. But yet you don't do that yourself? I find it odd that a man who's always telling people to record the police whenever they have any form of encounter with them doesn't film the U.S. Marshals to back up these claims.
To hang out with me when I'm filing a federal civil rights lawsuit. To me, that doesn't make any sense. I don't think it's appropriate considering I don't have any history of violence in my past. And I've never threatened to overthrow the government or lead a revolution or anything of the kind. All I've done is teach people their basic rights and get trifolds and cars of people.
That's cap. Totally cap. That means lie.
And give people cop cards, and so many of them. So I go to sue the judge, and they're going to have a cop follow me around. I think that is I think that's abysmal. That's the height of a despotic government. So a despotic government usual way. So the very beginning of a despotic is the cops following you. When you go to sue a cop and the judge that put you in jail for a Monell claim, which means that the entire system was rotten from top to bottom. And so I just find it peculiar that they decided to follow me. And it's not the first time, and it won't be the last time. Every time I go in to that federal building, I will be followed around by the cops, which I think it's horrible. It
doesn't matter what you think.
It's every attempt in the world to intimidate you. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Brandy, Swaney, Greg, hey, and I want to say thank you to you guys who donated to me earlier so that I could walk in that building and file and realize I wouldn't be in a hole. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Big shout out to Chevy. Thanks, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate all you guys, but it was just to make sure I could get it done today. Chevy stepped in and was like, there you go. Now you can just get it done. Cops are 5150. Bill Roberts. I mean, all you guys that came in and donated, I really appreciate it. Thank you. I still have that GoFundMe going. I got to get it to over 5,000 because I have to have a subscription to Westlaw. And I'll show everybody my subscription. I will log into Westlaw because they're going to ban using AI in courtrooms across America is what they're going to do. They already did it in the Western District of North Carolina. So they're going to try to do the same thing through the district courts.
Well, Chille, there's a reason why courts are banning AIs from being used to produce cases and being used as work product. It's because a lot of the courts have been finding that when they are using these AI systems, they are producing case evidence that's not factual. They're making up cases. They're making up information because they are programmed to do so. Now, it's not just the Western District Court of North Carolina, but there have been courts in Michigan, Ohio, California, Washington State that have all gone and said using AIs are not permitted in courtrooms.
Because nobody wants to be outsmarted by AI. How many of these judges have been using the jurisprudence that they wanted to use instead of the proper jurisprudence? So when you argue a case, if you guys, I'm sure a lot of you guys know this, but I'll just say it out loud for someone who maybe wasn't taking high school civics this week. So the way that you argue a case that the judge doesn't have immunity is you list other cases where the judge didn't get immunity. And so then, of course, there are cases where the judge got immunity. And so that's what the defense will be presenting back after their motion to dismiss, because we're going to overcome the motion to dismiss on most of the things. But they, some of those things you may not overcome the motion to dismiss. We'll see. And then I'm going to appeal when that happens. So I'm prepared to lose. I'm prepared to lose in district court.
And we're going to end it here, folks. Chille goes on a rant and rambling description of the 1958 case of Kent v. Dulles. And, well, then goes on to a rant of why he's suing Zimmerman even further, that we already covered, of him feeling like the bailiffs at the court case disrespected him and violated his rights when he said he wasn't going to go into the courtroom, which he said in the beginning of his trial. So if you guys like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a thumbs up and a comment because it helps me with the algorithm. Don't forget to check out my second channel and the podcast. With all that being said, be well, be safe, and I'll see you guys next time. And a special thank you to all members of the news team. Without all of your support, I couldn't keep the channel going. So I want to thank you all personally from the bottom of my heart. You guys mean the world to me, and I could never thank you enough for all the support, words of encouragement that you guys give me to keep on going with this channel.